castes. Agar sesa, pagan, what was our representations? The silences. Because it's not something the king during those time would be writing especially for the Kom history. Or the legend will be speaking only on the Kom's community or legends. But in historical text, history they when we read history books, we try to extract the information. So we have this saying, going against the grain, along the grain, within the grain. So these three concepts are there. Please remember, along the grain are generally written by the political history, like kings. Especially, history is being written by the victor. No, Raja Rani because they wanted to exalt themselves. So they were trying to write only the good part. But anyway, what I'm going to do is, I am going with the grain. What is there in the historical narrations? No, Manipur history, especially when it comes to Kom, one must be equipped because the discourse has been going on our identity. You are here, you are there. It's, I think, pertinent enough, especially for the youth, to at least acknowledge the historical presence of Koms in Manipur. Okay. I might be boring you, but please, it is just an educational and academic purpose. I'm not going political. Okay. Please remember this one. I am going cultural and academic only. When we talk about Kom, before I just proceed with that, we all should remember that there are three contexts, there are three sources from where you read history. One, oral history. Okay. Secondly, important kaju, three of them will be there. Oral history, written record, which we call literary sources. Lekha Insun Saka, right? The Vedas. If you look at this Indian subcontinent, Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda, these are historical texts, especially for the Brahminical texts. Manuscripts, Manu Changnasa, Antalagisa, no. These are literary sources. And the third one, we call it archaeology. Archaeology, hay maniti changchu, ralaya ilmu. Not only ralaya ilmu, but the remains of the past. It can be in the forms of pottery, it can be in the forms of wheat, trichoniha, asamwala nipun, fragments of clothes that were in the past. This will come in your archaeological records. Tribal society, we do not have a written record. So generally we are considered to be illiterate. I believe you can understand this one. We are not a literate society, especially tribal, who lack scripts. Most of the time their history are sidelined because they believe it's a mythology, legend, hearsay. These are not the facts. But in today's generations of subaltern historiography in Yamuna Chanju, people coming from below, the history that has never been narrated, especially women history, Dalit history, tribal history, the resistance, like especially the peasants' history, we have to see in a whole structure. For the Koms, we have legends which are part mythology, which are part legends. Sometimes it is not even historical. Historical tinachu, something which you can date, a data concept. Academic, you can Mr. X, Y say something. You can't believe it, you don't have to accept it as long as there is no rational behind. Rational comes in, there should be a constructive artifacts and substance to prove your point. Many of the historians today, in fact, Manipura, Tuntuna, what is going on. These are all much of the hearsay or the lessons that were being passed down from generations to generations. Okay, but this oral history is also equally important. Likewise, I have told you, as I have said, some tribal society like Kom, we do not have a written records, but we remember our past through this mythologies count. No, Hemanitika, Kurpuya put Yongsu Pale, asal maglet Reim Truming, asal maglet Karbompa Truming. These are something we have to treasure because sometimes history can also be extracted from here. I'm really sorry, I might be taking a little bit time, but bear with me because I really want to bring up something for this event probably. And many people, in fact, kasopui staff some of them are not have slept yet. So we have this letter, I understand this one, so please forgive me. Just wanted to take this opportunity to explain more about our history. For the first time in the Manipur history, the Komniti Trogrami, Komniti, where do we have heard from? Is it from the Maitai king? Is it from the colonial reports? So we have to think about literary sources. Mainly kay Mangichu, we have the Chaitaron Kumpapa. This is regarded to be one of the most important historical texts when it comes to the Manipur history. Puyaka, I know you might have come across Puyak, Nong Saba. No, these are records that were maintained but without a valid date. Chaitaron is Katraning research and later, this Chaitaron has been recorded with a proper date. I think I need historical period. Society society. Manipur, especially Manipur Ramni, Maitai Ditsor, Rengai Vayan, the Lairon. They were very powerful, they were very strong, and as a state, state in a kingdom down. Because they have army, they have resources, they have so many things. They can go and explore and conquer the village people. There was no tribe, by the way. The concept of tribe came later on, very late. Idea of community, only in the period of 19th century. Maybe in 18th century, strongly 19th century from 1800 onwards. He was so pagan identity he construct on the tribal notice ka tribal tumalayga power din sa Angami because British side and Babilay Angami Naga Hilsi conquered a total loy. But these Angamis were never united once again. They were living in terms of their village system. Reim pa many of the tribal communities. We divide this based on some socio-cultural or even political means in Kaido Mane. Tribal reign Manipur in the plain, in the Imphal Valley and Moirang, they were already kingdoms. So these kingdoms were powerful enough and they maintained this record, Chaitaron Kumpapa. Chaitaron Kumpapa, there are 3 volumes. Nantay numatan to online again. It is a transliterated written record. Transliterated in a first it was written in the Mayek Mapi. Maytay Mayek hindi ka no? First akana antalay sunage. Atuna puya may thaba antalay sik no? Akadam lang Maytay hay no kasama yan man dano. Oh, that was our history, the coming of this Vaishnavism in the 17th century during the Charai Rongpa period. Charai Rongpa. I need to Charai Rongpa dito. Charai Rongpa there was this drastic change. Social, cultural, and even economics change. 18th century Manipur again. Remember, 17th, just beginning from 17th, 18th century is quite important for the Manipur. 17th period. Because the coming of the second or third wave of the Muslims, no, I need to na panghar niti, samala pangan manitsi, no. They were initially from Bengal, no, Bengal, kana sa Bengal, kana pangan, I need panghar, kana kabalukati. So this panghar niti Muslim community sa 1604 ay. And mani may tayo ring ngay anay taraya, ay kabahay. With their comings, there was this new change of socio-economics. Ay ni Manipur. Kawakan historical period come. But 2 centuries ago, 13th or 14th century, Manipur is the historical period. Before that, you have to, whatever that has been written, you have to take it with a pinch of salt because it might be true, it might be not true. Because context Manipur Rengpan, Pong, have you heard this Pong Shan Barmisay? The Kachari, no? Mayang Atleti daw. May tayo Rengpan. Context kabapa pe akabake. Before that, there was no context. There was no trade relations. Who are these people? We never know. So this 14th century, Manipur important. 16th, 17th century, important. But especially for the tribal communities here too. The coming of this colonialism in Northeast India create a new historiography. Naga Hills, Mizo Hills, and the Lusai Hills no? Northeast region same, especially Arunachal Jangalsa, Mikir, Atuna, Khasi, Jensia, Hills documented anong Loyoke. Report anong same yoke. Cover report anong same paalahin ay ni Nizam kasi tinong hayin bayoman. Where do you find general knowledge in Canada? Mandatory. For the first time, KomTv we find as a reference from the Chaitoran Kumpapa, 3rd volume, only from 1843. 1843 ano? No, Kom. Tu ka Kom ay ma, which Kom? The Sinam Kom. Chaitoran na Sinam Kom. The Kom from the Sinam. Lain hagi. First time. No, Chaitoran na lain jawin. But this again, it was not a colonial. It was a Chaitoran Kumpapa. No. Yeah, it was colonial. Colonial in 1830s, not 43. 43 happens in the Chaitoran Kumpapa. I hope you excuse me. 1830s, R.B. Pemberton, a colonial agent. Report RPK. A very small fragment. The annals, Muyang, Tangkul, not the proper Tangkul, diba? Maraming ka, Muyang, Nachuhi, Muring, we know that Muring is there. So Muring, Koms, this, that, Adalai. Who were these people? He never identified. For the first time, we have 1830s, okay? And in the reports of R.B. Pemberton. In the Chaitoran Kumpapa, which is the local text, in Manipur 1843, and that village is Sinanko. Alright, saying that it does not mean that Kom did not settle in these Manipur regions in 1830s or 1840s. We were already there. As I have mentioned before, the tribal identity as a Kom, Aimol, Rongmai, Tangkul Nitihi. It's only 19th century construct the Kaupake. The first, in fact, general knowledge, Haikuma, which village has the first mentions in the Chaitoran Kumpapa, Niti Janju, Aini Niulanay Mantak. And Mani Mankai Penahin mentioned late low, Chaitoran Kumpapa, 1400. Give me a moment. 1443. Kumlising ka na Reim somanlilan itumahin. First time Mantaki mentioned like law. Kabasula we have Sakang. The kay chronology ada isirang Sakang in 1554, which is 16th century. Then we have Tonsen. Tonsen 1591. Then we have Mahao 1652. Tonsen and Mahao also were again mentioned in 1657. Tonsen again in 1669. Sakang, not Saganda, Sakang. Maitai hai nung chronology, chronicles ano, purely said Sakang alay dida, not Sakang. Sakang here we need Atharagaba 1669, 1691. Then we have again Mahao. Then we have Sakang, we have Tonsen. Chaithuron Kumpa Pahi till 1779. No, apart from the Sinam Kom. 1779 to Hivakuai, this around 3 or 4 5 villages were mentioned. Okay, how Nangi Laiman diagnosed? How did it mentioned? By the way, Maitai Reimpa ikan. I need Kakung Kuai. How did it mention once again? It was through warfare again. Reim, Maitai Reim again no. Especially in Imphal Valley, Moirang tinga kaso. I will also come to the Moirang part. Atuna Maitai Reim ni, you should remember we have Kangla and Moirang. These two principles were the main kingdom during this pre-colonial period. Pre means before the advent of the British. No. Kawa hi anmani ni ku hi lain bay hai, anlay di. And how they talk about the Maitai king used to go to this tribal area, especially hills. Not only this village, there are so many villages. The Chaitanya Kumpa mentioned ato hi. Ku ay ni naga tinga changsa, especially Tangkul and also Luhupa, Tangkul, ada wala tayo. Tangkul, Luhupa, Rongmay, Hanchu, tuna Liangmay ay Waireng alay dita. Koireng alay di mani. Koireng hi two ni kamake. Either the Liangmay or ay ni ulanay Koireng. They have identified like that. So the king used to go and fight with them. It was a symbolic gesture because Reimpa Angkhadim, before he ascended the throne, that was one typical behavior that has been done by the Maitai king. He has to wage war and he has to bring Lu, Haimanitikam, Lukatan, no? It was very prominent again. Luntan, head hunting ni tigil. Kada tua Maitai Reim ay chinga kasi ya ato na ni sokui naga hai. The K.R.S.U, especially northern area tinga kasi ya an luntai tanpi kaya no kan mani ni kangla ba ya. Oh, he were refined to matika cha. Okay, this king, this prince deserved to be a king. Anlay to eke. Kawayara kan ato na ni mantag Sakang Tonsen Mahao hai no. An mani ni like kasi anlay repoy eke. They used to bring their heads, you know, they used to go and hunted them down. What does it signify? It also signifies we were not weak. Because populations are like a Toman again. Even in the Maitai kingdom, Manipur kingdom, population like a Tomay again. Kawayarakan like a saying like Napoy and like Repuy. Atunchu, we feel like okay, we are small populations, we have this small population. But imagine during those times, a village is guarding themselves from this onslaught. How powerful must have been? How many people's life must have been lost? You can imagine, no? So many people must have been killed. And it's not only the raiding that was there also. Interestingly, there used to be a matrimonial alliance. The king used to have, they used to take this Kom villages ladies as their wife. It was a very strong gesture also. Like they used to take them subordinate identity to concubine. Nalay manatsin no, kabu and mani Reim. They wanted to either make them as a queen or else as a concubine, or else as a political means to protect themselves from the onslaught of the other stronger kingdom, especially Burmese. Not the present Burmese, but the upper Burmese. Upper Burmese like Po Shanai, like a Ngarayak. They were powerful, even though they also have maintained a strong alliance, matrimonial alliance with the Meitei king. They used to be war. So sometimes they used to keep all these hills, inhabited by the tribal people. So we have this various kinds of information that is coming up. In 1467, one incident kay Hinumju, Mahawang Podino, Mahaw Maino, Pinasu, I need Mahaw Sarnohi, may day pan alay on point. Amasa Paka, Sumpa, alay no. Sumpa, no? These are all named by the way. I need to Tunju, Niraming Niam to Kapu, Kapu Tangmilen, and someone like they only have okay. Some Raming Maru, all names are Sung, Dar, example, the Ayang, Yangpa, Nidi. It's a very old name. Kakom Raming Maruru again, very old name. Mahawangpi Sabahi Sumpa. Incident 1467 na nilay tayo. Again, 1591 hi Ipema Tonsenu. Alay dita. Tonsenu hi amahin amanom ni Tonsen Sarnu anlay do Reim. Just very small information on the metropolitan lines. But with the coming of the British in the 19th century, there was this complete change of, again, political scenario. Meitei Reim, even though they were strong, they could not subdue these northern tribes. Like don't know king no. Village, they would go and hunt them down, but as a whole, they were never sovereign. And I mean, so like we were strong, but they were never sovereign. But with the coming of the British, we have this protectorate period or dependency period. Gambir Singh Palakan nangin nalay the Anglo-Burmese War that happens, no? Sahi tare kunta pa adatika in the chronicles of Meitei history. Kau pahin Meitei kataan pa yoy again. Antahan so nakan they contacted this British from Kachar to Bengal, no, Chittagong, and they brought this whole groups of soldiers, and they fight with the Burmese, they chase away, and later on Gambir Singh became the king. No, here they have so many Yuvraj, but later on Gambir Singh became the king. Gambir Singh kan Reim power ka. Malay northern term ay ka tunjo. So this 19th century, you will find many of the tribal people paying tax or tributes to the Meitei because they have gunpowder. They are paid by the colonial master. But still, pura complete ajo, not a colonial. The complete colonialism happens in Manipur only in 1891. 1891. Till 1891, the period from 1820s to 1891, we call it as a dependency period or a protectorate period. I hope you get my point. I'm not boring you, okay? So from this period onward, the king used to be so powerful now. I need, especially in EAA, if you read the later on, the Thadao people, the Lusai, or the Naga tribes, what does it mean signifies as a gift? It means you are subservient, you are loyal to the king. 18, even any Kakomano, 1840s, they are new Mataragi. I know. Like Sinangkong, they presented two bodies, 1847 the Sinangkong presented two bodies of the Sultan Hao to the king. Sultan Hao, I don't know who are this Sultan, but they call it Sultan Hao, it must be other tribe. Okay, so this Sinangkong, because of the warfare, and it was very much ritualistic. If you kill someone or hunted an elephant or a tiger, you have to give to the king. 1847. Then in 1874, Tonsen and Mahau, along with other villages, not only Kom but other villages, participated in an appeasement dance to the king. Maybe something like I need Lai Harau Bama or else Mera Hauchong Bamanu. They might have come to appease the king with their dances. Another third point about tribute and gift is 1877. The Satans presented a goat tiger, a goat tiger to the king. 1877. Before that, we never find that this all Kom villages are paying tribute, such and such. It was never mentioned. Like I have told you, history is written by victors. But with the coming up with this, we have this whole political changes we find. The Anju, I Kurulaga Nitianju, 1871 again. Yijum Waroiching Aladia, 1871. Cuba, there's a reference. Ichutahi, Niku Ichimi, 1871. Kanachu, Makok Singhin, 1876. 1876, Yupala ID, Laikam Yoman again. And interestingly, in 1854, I don't know how much ID Isokwe, Niku, Mantakai, they would have remember. In 1854, the Maitai king went to protect the Mantaks in Moirang against the Lusais. What we know in our folklores is that Tuikang they tuna ini ni Mantakai and Gulun Jarakan Tikuk ni Andati, and they are also considered to be a different community by the Colonial Hope Alaida. Tikuk Alaitikan. So we know this Tikuk are the Koms. Idika Komu Banke. Kabaka, we don't remember, but chronology, chronicles is 1854, Maitai king went to protect the Mantaks in Moirang against the Lusai. And that is also very true because Lusai Jin Niti. It was from the late 18th century. Late 18th century, 18th century period. Powerful officer. I need this way either it is 1404 or 1675. First time reference Chaitara Nimu Nijiku Sokoye 1554 Nipuru as a name down. 1608 Kharam 1625 Aimol 1670. Here you part of it Hongze Sumanaki. Around, which means for the most important part, I need Niulanai. Not only let us not be, thinking only for the folks, but also like Niulanai is Zakri. I need to learn like apart from this, Nilai Singh, Ni Ulanai is like Halam Kangway, Rakpo like Sakache. They also claim they have come from the Manipur. My sources are quite limited because I read Slovenian. I need to learn Slovenian that time. The old name of the village. I just remember, look at this and keywords. I just keep it as a as a record again. Especially Halam community, they might also be in there. Just because I don't know the name of the village, I'm skipping it. But practically it's well with it because they have claimed, especially they come to this Tripuri Raja, they Paramaliti. Only from the 16th or 17th century, the idea came in Tripura. Where were they? We claim that we have, because if you listen their folk song, very much interested in it. Difference again. Just we have 5, 6 dialects among the Kom community. Sorry, I'm taking time. They also have differences. Alright, so my point is that there must be so many village names I have missed from this Chaitanya of Kumpapa. Colonial reports I didn't use that. Maculo, after Pemberton in 1830s, Maculo in I will just read it, okay? Paraphrase it. In 1859, William Maculo, in his book, The Valley of Manipur, wrote that the Koms at one time were powerful tribe, and if you look down, were powerful tribe, and their chief village, not very long ago, contained so many as 600 houses. They bordered on the Komzais, and though the two tribes were connected by intermarriages, their feuds in Naka, in Ansega, were frequent and bloody. Several Komzai villages paid them tribute. Just like we have paid tributes to the Maitai king, which village, particular village, no document, but it seems that our one, two, three Kom villages were also very powerful. So that the Kum Sai Zatwe Manito tributes like the Kom I Hula I Manisio rain to concept of rain in Taka, which is the king company for the name of the Kom. And decades later, Kumsonso Pala, 1859 at Kumsonso Pala, Robert Brown and the departed Imasu Netisan to the reign of Gambhir Singh. Gambhir Singh in 1820s, 30s are powerful like that. The reign of Gambhir Singh, some 40 years ago, they suffered so much from the operations of the Komzai and the Lusai tribes that they left their country in a body, and some refuge in other parts of the hills belonging to Manipur. They are now scattered about the hills near the Manipur Valley, and like the Komzais have no fixed villages. What can you infer from this point? It means that during the Gambhir Singh period, we have suffered a lot of times. No warfare, war activities, nimi kudi dala kasi patmanaki. Ram kanay makapua ay akasi makasuyo manaki. Yara chu some of the tribes, especially Lusai Chin, money powerful like the because once they move northwards, the inhabitants who were in the southern regions of Manipur were slowly and steadily pushed towards this regions. Kabayaram Bachanse Aini Kakomani, we are in the nook and corner of every district of Manipur. Okay? And there are also some reasons that why the populations of Manipur did not increase. Ni population say sama agas adaptang magtitihin. One, because of this warfare. The another point is the sickness. With the coming of this British, they brought cholera. I need nilang halat sa cholera iki. Like na imang panke. New world Europe ay kagoy ang pare. We have cholera. So many malaria was there, but cholera we were not immune to this new disease. So many people have died. Okay, and not only in Manipur. There are so huge documented accounts of cholera in Orissa, West Bengal. If you read academics, cholera is a very giganta disease like a Kalau ni lagi tiada, kalau ni baru nak lagi. Kan BCLN ini mati dah. BCLN dipanggil in 1905 reported that Koms and K.R.S.U.D occupied the hills that overhang the valley near Moira, and the Jews who live in the hills to the west and south of the valley. We have to remember that Colonial very interesting. Laimon, Mantap, Kiku, Kaihab, Kanachu, Chiru, Aimon, Koirene. It's a Kom tribe because they might have observed the similarities and iconographical study these people are the Kom sub-tribe of Kukis. Now, I need more subscriber cookies are later who by the colonial administration support. But interesting is that Robert Brown has even BCL and even though they might consider us a part of the cookies, but also they will find similarities of our culture with the K.R.S.U.D. K.R.S.U.D no, Romai K.R.S.U.D theory, example in Pui Moon, and money in Milan, in culture in Malaysia. Here, especially any village system, we have a governance, especially elected. A pure home village was elected. Atuncu mandala kula pa asanuncu we have generations amasa kula kasang no. Actually that amani atasundung ko jesu ko home thing person sa mai thing. Ko we have this democratic republic model and village administration elective like sa ko. Antida kawayan nin andam angka nin angkoy kamay with the nanas and the cookies. So many kay na lomang yun but kani isi suka na again point sa kay tayo nung the worshipping of K.R.S.U.D has been discontinued by the Maldives. But in the 17th century, his temples, shrines were built. And also interestingly, the Koms have worshipped this world. Because we believe K.R.S.U.D is the name of a tree. And that will be the center of the house. And we used to worship this one. Not the Sanami, because Sanami has this something like that. No, if I'm not wrong. Masih anak born, okay. Kesan ini K.R.S.U.D itu, na enjoy lain anak kau nanti dah itu. Ini soal baiknya mana itu. Ni tong ini nang ayah nama kati kalju. Insa, mani kukijinan kaya. If you read this title of Baba, the original, there are so many linguistic similarities with our form. Thoiba it's not ba, it's pa. The thoiba, thoinu. Example, thoipi, like this. Thoipi ka thoipi yung kasama. Nungaan malay kong sopong kasama kain like yung nalaki. Kanju thang ngam di raming are may tayo ng tamang. Nalay mo na sa tingkang ko ba mandatino. Lecho le naman ang jingkule ling le naman ang kemani. And not only that, but also Moira area, we can claim historically how kapi nung lai mara siya ke lokta pa ni dito ay maniti ay ni antang mara mo lokta ke thampuy ni dia ke even today no kako any kata rai if you ask any all people will say thampuy even any lokta or say dia kako mai any moira ai we call it thampuy not lokta. Okay. And the flowers that bloom in this thampuy, in the Meitei language, they call it thambal. There is no meaning of thambal. It's thampar. No. Thampuya in Reim thambal. Correct me, because linguistically it's very important challenging. Besides, we have this Hangzing line, right? And Chayorang this coming. There are so many, okay, I don't want to spend it up. How do I need that? Ni instrument, ni drum, rami, inang. Ni say that, no, Kansu kagomay, I need izatan ko ini, ni pungsang ko ini, akatabla umani ng bay pamayan. Kansu politically, it's a cultural. Politics also you will fight. Take it as a cultural approach. Then again with the Tampul especially in the southern regions, number C money and drawing. Nanda may in weeks. Mari that come. There are villages because Tampul has more than 200 dialects. Okay. Kundunga anda Tampul draw village Next then we have this Lanka. Moyonum Kabyohe, Halal communities. My point is, we have shared similarities in the past, culturally, socially, politically, with every communities in Manipur. And if you believe you belong to one category that has been constructed by the political means, that has been given by the colonial master, there are coexistence in the country. One of my aim is let us live together in harmony. And of course, let them understand and give them information what kind of similarities we have with the other communities. Okay, that's all. I'm really sorry I have taken my time, and I hope some points are made. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita, Thank you so much for this rare opportunity that we are able to listen to such an insightful knowledge. Knowledge Google is going to happen, but it's only because of your sheer hard work and interest that we were able to witness such kind of knowledge. And now we have some exhilarating performance by the Women's Society K.R.S.U.D. Culture. They will be performing a cultural dance. At the Women's Society K.R.S.U.D. Anay Namsiki Ipa Khadalam Atepi Lam Kom Tv. I call on the Women's Society to please come up on stage.